It's my pleasure to introduce this year's commencement presenter, Jezz Chung. Jezz Chung is a multidisciplinary artist who has spent the past decade studying justice, healing, and creative practices. Their writings, performances, and facilitated experiences experiment with the philosophy that personal change contributes to collective transformation. Jezz's Korean, queer, ADHD experiences are embedded into the ways that they imagine different futures, and they've been recognized internationally by El País, Público, Vogue Italia, The Cut, Time Out, Them, and Deem Journal. Their writings have appeared in the Washington Post, ID Mag, Adweek, and EST Media, and they've shared lectures and talks with organizations around the world. Jezz's ongoing project, Dreaming Different, archives conversations with cultural workers about how to build a world through a neurodivergent lens. And their debut book, This Way to Change, was released in March 2024. Welcome, Jezz.
If you can hear me, say woo! If you can hear me, say woo! Oh, everyone is looking so good. I know we've been sitting for a while, so let's shake the energy up a little bit. Can you turn to the people next to you and say, thank you for being so beautiful? Don't forget the people behind you. And just shake it up a little bit. Just shake out any energy you have in your hands. Maybe roll your shoulders around. Do a little wiggle in your seat. I know it can be a lot to sit for a long time. And I just want to say, it's really good to see so many keffiyehs and watermelons in the audience. I see you and I'm with you. Greetings, everyone. It's a deep delight and honor to be here with you today. Professors, administrators, alumni, faculty, staff, friends, family, and the honorees we're here to celebrate. Smith School of Social Work graduates, class of 2024. I'm sure many of us are familiar with the practice of connecting with your inner child, but right now, I'd like to invite you into a collective imagination practice, very supplemental to Devin's speech, to bend time and meet with an older, yet still younger version of yourself. So if you're comfortable, again, please close your eyes or fixate your gaze on a single point in the room. And start breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Imagine your first day of graduate school. And for everyone else, bring yourself back to any first day of school that you can remember. What were you wearing? What was your bag like? How did it feel on your body? What did you see? What did you sense? What was the air like around you? If it calls to you, place your hand somewhere on your heart or chest and feel into those sensations. Breathing in and out, take a moment to honor the body that you're in and how far it's come to get you here. Imagine what this younger version of you would think about who you've become now after all this time. Receive anything else they want to share with you. And really send that gratitude to them, because it's taken a lot, and there's a lot going on in the world. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and return to your present self. Before I continue, I want to thank you in advance for your attention. As someone who has found hope and healing and mindfulness practices, and as someone who is very ADHD, I greatly value presence and know that it doesn't come easily. And I hope there's something in what I share with you today, even if it's just one tiny morsel of wisdom, that can fortify you as you flow forward into this new chapter of your life. Speaking of chapters, I'd like to share a poem with you from my collection of writing that came out earlier this spring titled, "This Way to Change." This poem is titled, "How to Build a World," and it summarizes the steps it takes to change the world, listed from 1 to 15. You begin by deciding, this is something I want to do. This one we're living in is too terrible to continue, with too much hierarchy, not enough ways to care, no regard for universal health. You build a world by building relationships with people who are also looking for softness, somewhere to sit, someplace to say, I'm struggling with this, I need help here. You build a world by deciding this could be better, and by better I mean safer and more secure and more creative in the ways we survive. You build a world by searching for different ways to stay alive. I share this poem in the spirit of Audre Lorde's essay, Poetry is Not a Luxury, in which she writes, poetry is the way we help give name to the nameless so it can be thought. As they become known to and accepted by us, our feelings and the honest exploration of them become sanctuaries and spawning grounds for the most radical and daring of ideas. Radical and daring. Words that feel appropriate to describe the persistence it took for you to get here, joining a historic lineage of practitioners who have faced different but similar challenges in pursuit of a shared calling. Radical and daring to describe the extensive breadth of study that you've completed, a not always glamorous but highly impactful line of work you've chosen. I extend endless respect, admiration, and gratitude for the choices that brought you to this point, here. Today, I'm not speaking with you as an author or an artist or an activist, a term I've never identified with because I don't consider it exceptional to have values and live by them. I'm speaking with you as a collaborator in this future we are collectively building. In this culture shaped daily by the thoughts we think and the places we put our attention. And as a lifelong student of psychology and communications, I'm also speaking with you as a fellow enthusiast of the intersection between science and humanities. I could tell you about my accomplishments, as most commencement speakers do. I could tell you how I designed my dream life, achieved things that felt impossibly out of reach, and realized that all of that still wasn't enough to fulfill me. I could tell you all of this, but instead of telling you what I've done, I'd rather tell you what drove me to do it. Because the things you do don't mean as much if you're not proud of why you do it. In a society often vicious and unaccommodating to disabled and neurodivergent people, women and femmes, people of color, queer, trans, and gender nonconforming people, and those of us who live with generations of cultural debt, I want to speak with you about what it takes to try, radically try, to significantly change the world by changing how you show up in it. To try seeking wholeness when everything is falling apart. To try keeping love alive when other people keep breaking your heart. So my remarks aren't about how to achieve. You already know how to do that because you're sitting right here. Instead, it's a reminder that you have the agency and choice to live a life that accurately reflects the essence of who you are. More specifically, I want to talk with you about 3 elements of building the world that is your future. First, knowing yourself. Second, letting yourself be known by others. And third, iterating and iterating until it feels great. And how all of these elements help invest in a worthy use of our collective power. It's no secret that we are navigating extreme, apocalyptic, dystopian times of crisis. We're 4 years into an ongoing pandemic that is still killing and disabling people by the masses. Most Americans struggle to access health care and live with an average of $104,000 of debt, as the costs of basic survival keep rising. At the same time, billionaires make money like it's a sport and hoard wealth in their sleep. We're experiencing the consequences of greed, extraction, and destruction through record temperatures, devastating floods and fires, all while world leaders engage in reckless acts of rogue, wicked violence that further fill our air with poison. There are signs everywhere that we must make drastic changes in the ways we live, that we must divest from the ways we contribute to violence and harm, and take that same energy and invest in ways that contribute to our collective dignity and care. Scientists, scholars, astrologers, poets, organizers, and international coalitions of expert thinkers have sent us warning after warning, yet most of us are too equipped with fear to face what's at stake. Our social anxiety is more pronounced than ever, while the demand for our constant labor keeps us busy and burnt out, so our relationships suffer. Loneliness is considered as damaging to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and we're a mere 81 days away from an election that will further rupture the ways we all relate to each other. Everything is changing very quickly and very unpredictably, in ways that have put all of our lives in chaos and disarray. And yet, we're not the first to face times like this. James Baldwin said, "You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read." It was books that taught me that the things that tormented me most were the very things that connected me with all the people who were alive or who had ever been alive. For the sake of reading the room, can I get a show of hands from anyone who has ever felt too sensitive for this world? Keep your hands up like you feel things too deeply to know how to hold, and keep your hand raised if your sensitivity is also what led you here on this path of making a difference in other people's worlds. Please look around. Let this be proof that your intuition and attunement are sources of purpose and power. You can lower your hands now. So, why do I believe that knowing yourself is the first step to building a world? It roots back to my childhood. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, to a, yes, Atlanta, represent, to a Korean accountant and a Korean artist. An interesting combination. While it wasn't all bad, I remember much of my childhood as unstable, painful, and meticulously controlled. I won't get into the details of my traumas, though I think I'm in a safe space where all of us can hold it here. But I've come to learn that I experience many symptoms described by complex PTSD. This, in combination with my chronic depression, anxiety, ADHD, and autistic traits, have made me deeply, deeply curious about my inner world. Discovering this language of neurodivergence is precisely why I began an audio series called Dreaming Different. Beyond the language of pathology, I long to explore the ways my divergence can help me deepen my inner wisdom and ultimately dream of a world where access and inclusion aren't things we have to fight for because they're already embedded into the ways that we live. To know yourself is to know what makes you happy, angry, anxious, passionate, relaxed, and at ease. To know yourself is to notice the conditions at play when you feel good, what contributes to your sense of satisfaction, and the limitations of what you're willing to tolerate. To know yourself is to understand what you value and why you value it. An exercise I practice regularly is interacting with my future self. I'll close my eyes and visualize what they're wearing, how they smell, where they're living, what they're doing, who they're with. I'll sometimes even write a journal entry from their perspective. This helps me embody the life that I want to live, to rehearse for the future that I want to happen. Knowing myself has led me to accept that justice and liberation are some of my core values and the axis for which I design my life around. And as I've been involved and engaged in different forms of community building and art making for the past decade, I've learned that a world of collective liberation is not possible without a second element: letting yourself be known. Oppression is not created in isolation. Painful patterns don't just embed themselves into our culture. There's something perpetuated by people unwilling to face the pain within themselves. Forces of oppression and injustice aren't mysterious entities. They're identifiable toxins ingrained in our collective psyche, reproduced by individuals who remain unaware of their impact, disassociated from their power, and profoundly afraid of change. This is why hurt people hurt people. This is also why we end up hurting ourselves. In the visionary sci-fi novel Parable of the Sower, Octavia Butler summarizes a core universal truth. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. I'll say that again so we can really digest it. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. If this is true, I believe we are changed by everyone we love and everyone who loves us. And because of this, I believe in love and connection as driving forces in transformation and progress, because without them, there's not much to live for. I do this work to heal, to let myself be known, to connect despite my anxieties and discomforts, because I believe in our collective capacity to heal. And just as hurt people, people who heal contribute to the healing of others too. I often ask myself, why? Why go through the trouble of doing something a different way? Why consider other people when we live in a culture that incentivizes individualism? Why choose to love when there is so much to hate? Sonia Renee Taylor said during her 2018 commencement speech, also here at Smith School of Social Work, "You can't transform something you hate." So, even when we're hurting, I pose these questions. What would it be like to be intimately seen in our hurt? What does it mean to stay committed to each other's safety, dignity, and quality of life when we're tempted to forget and dispose of each other? What does solidarity look like when we have a hard time getting along with each other? I don't have the answers, but as disabled scholar Josh Halstead said, the questions we ask become the stars we follow. In the spirit of exploration, the third element of building a world is to iterate until it feels great. This is a philosophy I developed through my writing, singing, and performing, and something I apply to the process of writing the remarks I'm sharing with you today. It's also a method I've noticed in my healing journey as I've worked with different practitioners and medicines to address the roots of my traumas and transform the world inside of me. Disabled writer Alice Wong said, "Change is a calling and a creative practice. But just because we're called to it doesn't mean it's handed to us." In looking at every revolutionary struggle that fought for and secured the quality of life we have today, it's clear that mass social change comes from a momentum of radical, daring efforts to do things differently, over and over and over again. Though it's reasonable to be discouraged, and I wish for everyone here to be held in the times you just need to fall apart, abolitionist Mariam Kaba has reminded us that hope is a discipline, and we are each other's best hope. When we fail, we look to each other for evidence of different possibilities. When we hit ceilings and walls and closed doors, we show each other different passageways. We remind each other why failure is part of the process. And as we re-indigenize and reroute our ideas of success, we must continue to remind each other that what we're doing matters, even if no one is rewarding us for it. I'm safely assuming that your work has made you one of the best listeners in your life. Raise your hand if this is true. Yes. I know that my studies of justice have deepened my ability to listen and expanded my capacity to care, because so much of practicing justice is about being a skillful listener. As people attuned to others, I'm reminding you that when you feel like it's all just too much to hold, be sure to listen to yourself too. Be just as skillful in holding space for yourself so you can confirm, appreciate, and value all the ways you choose to show up. Keep a document of milestones that no one else would know how to name. Record and date your dreams, wishes, and longings so you know how to track your growth over time. Befriend the qualities that make you different and weird. Nurture them. Let them guide you. Your intuition is where your body stores its wisdom. It's hard to access among so much noise, so please give yourself constant permission to listen. Exercise the muscle of connecting to yourself. Build it into your day, week, world, and compare notes with others. Never be too busy to have an honest conversation. And remember, striving for honesty is much more attainable than striving for perfection. As you know yourself, let yourself be known, and iterate. Your inner compass becomes easier to access, and you raise your baseline of fulfillment and happiness. Look to guiding stars, not to pedestal them, but as reminders that if you want something from the world, it might mean that you're the one who's meant to make it happen. This is especially hard for those of us tired of always having to find our own way, tired of the effort it takes to interrupt systemic patterns and generational cycles. But if intuition steered you here, it's because as much as our bodies hold pain and trauma, they also hold knowledge and wisdom. I wish for you to continue steering yourself to make decisions that will put your life in alignment with your values. In doing this, you build the world we desperately, urgently need. And if you've yet to find your calling and you're not entirely sure what's to come, I hope the lessons you learned here guide you further into a life that exercises your greatest potential, no matter how long it takes. Embracing my queerness, my neurodivergence, my Korean American lineage, and all the other nameable and unnameable facets of who I am have shaped my commitment to building a different world through the force of love. I believe in love as a collective force, driving us to change for the better. I believe it pulses within all of us, roots us to our power, gives us courage when we're feeling small and insignificant. I hope you'll remember that while change is inevitable, oftentimes startling, sometimes unbearably painful, it's also a truth that will lead you through this marvelous, devastating journey of being alive at the same time together. May we all remember that we have the power to face challenges with creativity, conflict with courage, and complexity with curiosity. And with that, I'm so happy to say, congratulations to the class of 2024, you did it! you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.